Hi everyone, and welcome to Chapter 5, where we discuss e-commerce security and payment systems. When it comes to reporting actual e-commerce security issues, it's not very clear. The overall size and losses as a result of cybercrime are not sure. In a 2013 survey in the United States, the average annualized cost of cybercrime was $11.56 million a year. So what defines good e-commerce security? First of all, to achieve the highest degree of security, you need up-to-date technology, you need clear organizational procedures and policies, and you need industry standards and government laws. Other factors that you should take into consideration would be the time value of money that you spend on the project, the cost of security versus the potential losses that could be incurred if there's a security breach, and that oftentimes security breaks occur at the weakest link within your system. The e-commerce security environment is normally represented by a couple of factors. First of all, you have the data within your organization or establishment. You have the technology solutions which you have chosen to implement. You have your organizational procedures and policies, and then you have laws and industry standards. Like in most other situations, the customer's perspective on an issue and the merchant's perspective on an issue are often different. But in terms of e-commerce security, we generally like to look at how does the merchant's perspective differ from the customer's perspective in terms of integrity, non-repudiation, authenticity, confidentiality, privacy, and availability. Businesses have to find the very clear line between improving their e-commerce security and making sure that they are not diminishing the value that their customers get. In terms of ease of use, you have to make sure, you have to acknowledge that the more security measures that you add into your site is the more difficult your site may be to use and the slower it becomes. And then there are issues with regards to public safety and criminal uses of information online. The use of technology by criminals to plan crimes or threaten nations and entire countries is something which we all have to be aware of. There are three key points of vulnerability in terms of your e-commerce environment. You have, first of all, your client, you have your server, and then your communications pipeline. Here is an example of a typical e-commerce transaction. As you can see, everything starts with the online consumer. Through their internet service provider, they will go to their favorite online store and they will place a transaction. That transaction will go into the company's database server and the warehouse will fulfill the order, which gets shipped back to the online consumer. Of course, when that transaction is placed on the person's online store, you also have points of entry where the customer's credit card or merchant bank is going to have to get involved in the transaction. Some of the most common security threats encountered by firms would be things like potentially unwanted programs. These are, for example, browser parasites and things like adware and spyware. Other security threats would include phishing, things like email scams and identity fraud or theft. Here we have some more in-depth explanation on adware and spyware.
In this video, we will talk about what is adware and spyware. Let's first talk about adware. Ad-supported software is called adware or advertising-supported software. These terms are used for any program that downloads or displays unwanted banner advertisements. Adware often comes bundled with some software that one downloads. Developers may include adware in their software to recover development costs. This way, they are able to provide the product for free or at a discounted price. Adware can be designed to collect users' data. For example, which websites the user visits. This data is then sent back to the company so that it could deliver advertisement based on the collected information. The advertisements produced by adware could be seen as a distraction and invasion of privacy. In exchange, The developer receives income from the advertisers. He may use it to maintain, upgrade, and hence continue to develop more software. Often, users are given an option to purchase a registered or licensed version that would remove the ads. The adware-free version may also offer more functionality. The adware can also contain a spying component. In this case, the software would be classified as spyware. Spyware is considered by many to be privacy invasive. Spyware can steal users' information and may also corrupt system files. The adware can also contain a spying component. That is why an adware companies usually state a privacy policy, saying no sensitive information will be collected. But there is no way to be 100% sure that no spying is taking place. Therefore, because of privacy concerns, most antivirus software today detects and removes both adware and spyware. Thank you for watching.
Other security threats include hacking, cyber vandalism, and data breach. Here we have another video that explains the difference between the types of hackers that exist in the industry. You have what they refer to as white, black, and gray hats.
Hacking can be, like all activities in human life, legal or illegal. But in fact, it's usually more.
There's all sorts of hats in hacker culture, right? So there's the white hats, and those are the good guys, right? And so a white hat hacker would be someone who kind of probed the computer system of a big company. If they found a hole, they wouldn't go very far through it, and then they would contact the company and give the company time to fix it. And then there's just the black hats, and the black hats generally are people these days who are trying to steal credit cards or break into your PayPal account or get into your email account. The end game is just money.
The black hats are people that break into systems. When we started doing this, just looking at researching software and uncovering vulnerabilities and publishing tools that let people hack into systems using those vulnerabilities, people tried to label us as black hats. We said, well, wait a minute, we're not breaking into systems. We're not like these guys. You can use these tools for good, or you can use them for bad. We think you white hat people should use our tools to figure out what systems have the vulnerabilities. But of course they didn't do that. So we had to come up with this new term, and we coined the term at the loft called gray hat, because we didn't want to wear a black or a white hat. All hackers are gray hat hackers. Who present themselves as white hat hackers are gray hat hackers who are simply fudging the truth. We got invited to speak at the Senate in 1998. The thing that was really exciting for us was they reached out to hackers. They reached out to us. They let us testify, using our hacker names.
They'll be using their hacker names of Mudge, Weld, Brian Oblivion, Kingpin, Space Rogue, Tan, and Stefan.
One of my colleagues, Mudge, had been doing research on how the different parts of the internet connect to each other, how Sprint connects to AT&T, and found a vulnerability in the way that the major interconnection points between the big network providers, he found a vulnerability where he could sever those connections. And so I think he really scared them when he said, we could take down the internet in 30 minutes.
I'm informed that you think that within 30 minutes the 7 of you could make the internet unusable for the entire nation. Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually, one of us with just a few packets. We've told a few agencies about this. It's kind of funny because we think that this is something that the various government agencies should be actively going after. We know the Department of Defense just did a very large investigation into what's known as denial of service attacks against the infrastructure. In our various day jobs, we contributed a large portion of the information to that actual investigation. Much to our chagrin, the learnings from it were instantly classified, which we were giving them largely public information.
There was a few people in the back of the room from the NSA that came up afterwards and like, you got to tell us about this. And of course we did.
I look at you guys as the white hats in this whole thing. Yeah, I think your motivation, as far as I know, is excellent.
Credit card fraud or theft, identity fraud or theft, and spoofing are other security threats which you must be aware of as well.
This holiday season, there'll be more communication and more fraudsters trying to get your particular information. The 4 ways that they are commonly used is spoofing, where someone will take an email to you that looks official, have the company logo on it, but then it'll direct you to a website where they will download malicious malware onto your computer. Phishing, very similar to spoofing, except in this instance, they will direct you to a website that asks you for your personal identifiers, your account information, your date of birth, your social security numbers. No financial institution will ever ask for those things. To a lesser extent, you have smishing, which is where you will receive text messages that direct you to malicious websites. And finally is phishing, where it is if you go to that phone number, you will dial an 800 number that will automatically direct you to enter your account information, enter your personal identification, and they'll use that information again for account takeover or identity theft. Some ways to prevent spoofing or phishing is to always keep your antivirus software up to date. If you receive an email that you think is suspicious, do not contact the phone numbers that are on that email, and do not click on any of the email links that are on that. Go to the official website for that company and get your contact information from there. And the third thing is be aware. Be aware of everything. Be aware of your passwords. Keep your passwords changing. Keep them complex. But be aware.
To round out some of the most common security threats, we have again sniffing, which is where you have programs that monitor the information that travels over a network. And of course you have things like poorly designed software, security issues on the social networks that you frequent, and security issues with whatever cloud program or cloud server you use. Some of the more common technology solutions would of course be protecting the information or the communication you have online using things like cryptography, securing the channels of communication using VPNs or a secured Wi-Fi network, protecting those networks using firewalls and proxy servers, and protecting the servers and clients, things like using OS security and antivirus software.